friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 72. Today is March 3rd, 2023, 3323. I like dates. I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and thanks for joining me. So I'm sorry I'm ever so slightly breathless because I've been running around a little bit, but I'll calm down. Flosstube and Variety Show means, Flosstube means cross stitch, and Variety Show means something else. And I don't know what the something else will be in total today. We'll see what happens. But let's talk about cross stitch. So I put my things here in a stack. The stack is, as they say, in no particular order. So I'll show you first what I'm going to work on this weekend. This is the first weekend of the month, so it's Blackbird Designs Weekend Stitch Along, hashtag BBD Weekend Sal. And this is, as you remember from, I think I showed this in my last video, it was the week after. This is going to be my starting point for the weekend of this little piece called Spell of the Moon. So next week, stay tuned for more. And I realize it's been, I think, 3 weeks since I made a Flosstube video. Thanks to those of you who tuned into the Galloping Horse number 3, the quilting video that I posted maybe 2 weeks ago. But since then was the second weekend, I think, of the, or maybe the third weekend, second weekend of my working on this on the third weekend of the month, of each month. My friend Leslie and I are working on this as a stitch along. That's called the Nativity Scene by Stitchy Princess on Etsy. And here's how far I've gotten. You would think on a pattern as simple as this that I would be able, and I'm working on 18 count Aida. It isn't as if I'm working on 56 count linen or something that I would be able to count correctly, but I didn't. I have not counted correctly. But I'm not going to rip anything out because this, she calls it, I think, primitive. I would call it stylized, maybe. But my N and A are not lined up correctly. This guy and this guy are not the right distance apart. Or maybe it's these two are not, I don't know. But I made this king, started this king. This is the beginning of the vial of perfume, I think, or something that the third king is. So here's a shepherd, and there's going to be 3 kings, and then a camel and a sheep over here. So I've made the bases for these people, and I've started putting these little snowflakes in the ones that are in gold. I love stitching on this. It was hard to stop, but I have a lot of things that I'm doing, so I made myself stop. But king, he's really cute. Cute king, right? So that'll be, I'll work on that again the third weekend of March, and I will show it to you, of course, because that's what this is about. When I showed this to you last on the video on February 10th, it wasn't quite done, and now it is done. And I did put it on, a picture of it on that other platform, Instagram, claiming that it was done. And then when I looked at the picture, I realized that there was some things missing up there. So I fixed it, but there it is. I'm quite pleased with this. You see those balls down there. I think they would have been equally effective without the green outline, but I did it in the green outline. I think it looks nice. So, and also these little, I doubt that you can see on the camera, but these little brown stitches there are off by 1 thread. You know, they're shifted so that the middle of them is exactly over the middle. It's a tiny detail. I did them in long stitches, so those are not individual crosses off by 1. They're long stitches, but you can't tell in the camera. And really, you can't tell looking at it either. So let that be a lesson. Don't do something fancy if you don't need to. I have worked a small amount, a tiny bit, on Winter Rose Manor. Now, one of the reasons I haven't worked more on this is because we were gone, Cindy and I were gone to the quilt show last weekend. It was just last weekend. It seems longer ago. I think that's right. And getting ready for the quilt show, and then since then, moving a few things forward, including our class project, just has taken some of my time. But I'm going to show you anyway, Winter Rose Manor. I have made more progress on the snow. I made another tree, made another fence post, and I started the border underneath the snow. I haven't put any of the berries in, and I don't think I've done any more flowers, but and if you can sort of overlook the big wrinkle. Come on, Emily. Maybe this will be better. I can't show it to you well. Anyway, I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's going to be beautiful. Now so this is on 36 count Brenda's Brew, and it has a variety of overdyed cottons with varying amounts of variegation. And it's one thread over two, 1 over 2 with the cottons, which I have not stitched much in 1 over 2, 1 over anything. The Eliza Stringer H6 was 1 thread over 2 linen threads, and that was 103 silk, 100.3. I don't know how people say that. It's not 103, it's 100.3, and I'm not sure even what that means. But one of my problems with stitching 1 thread has been, on this cotton anyway, is that it tends to form little knots, you know, a little noose kind of knot, or it seems to fray. And so in the Jenny Doan Countdown to Christmas box, there was a little beeswax thing, which looks like a spool of thread. Isn't that clever? And as you run your thread over it, it looks like a spool of thread even more. And I've been using this with the Winter Rose Manor, and it has helped. Now, when I first opened this, there was a slight honey smell to it. I don't smell anything now. And it is beeswax. So depending on the amount of purification that was done, it's possibly has some honey in it. But of all of the substances that would be the least harmful to cotton thread, I think honey or beeswax would be high up on the list, because honey basically does not ever spoil. They've opened casks of honey from, I think, even possibly the pyramids, and they've been edible and delicious. So that is something special about honey. This is sampler 193 by 2x2 Stitch Art. I don't know why I have trouble saying that. 2x2 Stitch Art. It is very fun and satisfying to work on. And whoa, this is how far I am now. I've definitely turned the corner. I can't remember, might be close to 25%, maybe it's 20%, but that's fun. I pick this up when there's something on TV that I want to pay kind of some attention to, but not so much that I can't count. And I pick it up when I'm tired. And I also very carefully packed it up with some printed sections of my pattern to take to the quilt shows that I could work on in the hotel room, and I never never correct the cover. Oh well. So my goal for this is probably a pillow. I guess they call it cushion cover, but this is a 16 count white Aida by Zweigart with red. The red is number DMC 777. Snippet Tiger Stare by Charting Creations. And I've made a real effort to focus on this. This is, I have made a mental commitment to myself and a verbal, I've said this to you, that I intend to show my 2 full coverage pieces every other video. So this is this one's turn. And I've almost finished that leftmost section. There are just a few isolated stitches in there that I haven't done. And then I'm starting over, you know, working my way over another set of stripes. Now, right down there at the bottom of that black, the main black stripe, and then it joins up with another black stripe below it, I made a counting error. So that is right in here. And it's probably about 8 stitches that are off by 1 side to side. And you know what I decided to do? Nothing. I'm just sort of figuring it out. I'm just working my way in there because it's a tiger. It's not a geometric design. And who will ever, 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 ever know? If I didn't tell you, there's no way you would know. And even when I tell you, you're going to say, what? There's a mistake there? So I'm not worrying about it. Now, I have been using this Nerge square rectangular hoop on that project. And I've been using the next larger size on my Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather. And since I've actually been using them, I wanted to give some comments about them to you in case you're thinking of them. So first of all, I do like the fact that they're rectangular because it's just more usable space in terms of being able to stitch more before having to move the hoop. I like that. It is, this closure thing is excellent because it is still reachable. You know, it's not smashed down in there. It's easier to get at. And it's really quite well engineered. There's a slot in the, I mean, I can't even describe to you what it is, but there's a screw that goes in here that goes into some sort of a thing that it's moving along down in the, yeah, a thing that's moving along in the thing. Yeah, never mind that. But it's nice. I like that closure. And I would like to have a circular hoop that has that closure. And the plastic, that's easy to grip. And it definitely grips the fabric. However, it's hard to get it uniformly taut. So it's however you get it in there at the bottom, you can't really pull it because this is where there's the least give in the way this outer frame thing comes. Because this outer frame, you see, it moves apart at the top, but not at the bottom. And so when you get the bottom in, that's the way it is. And so you can't pull it to tighten it very well. Now the top you can adjust. And then when you crank it down, it really doesn't move, I would say, at all if you really crank it. But I don't know. I'd be curious if any of you use rectangular hoops like this. I mean, can you call it a hoop if it's not round? I don't know. Rectangular frames. Now I know people use quick snaps. What are those called? Q snaps. Q snaps. I've never used one of those. There have been enough. I've read enough about them to make me think that I wouldn't like it. I think I might not like holding it. and it's deeper, so, and generally bigger. So I may keep using that one. I may go back to a round hoop. I will also say that I noticed a tiny, I mean, there's absolutely no way the camera's going to show you this, but above my fingertip, there is a tiny place that the fabric is torn. Now, is that because of the hoop? That hoop, I doubt it. Could be. I will say, though, that that doesn't worry me. I had a tear, a little tiny place like that, a couple threads cut in the under the roof of Blue Ionian Weather, and I carefully, I handled it carefully until I got to the point that I could stitch over it, and now I cannot even tell you where it was. I can't remember where it was. So I'm not worried about it, as long as I can sort of get over there fairly soon and stitch over that, and that will stabilize it, and there won't be any problem. That's my belief and experience with that kind of thing. So that's what I've been working on. And I've been sort of considering the fact that, so let's see, I have the tiger, and I have Under the Roof, and I have the red Sampler 193, Winter Rose Manor. So those, I think, unless I'm just forgetting something, are my only 4 projects that I do all the time, that I pick up at any time. The other 2 things that I showed you that I'm working on are the Blackbird, Song of the Moon, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. And the Nativity Scene, which are specific weekend stitch-alongs. So I have a hankering to start something else that's not a specific weekend. And I think probably initially it will be a small for the Smalls Exchange for the Great British Sampler Weekend in September. Because I have to do that. I have to get it figured out, selected, threads pulled, stitch it, and then make something out of it, a little pin cushion or something, whatever it is, whatever is appropriate. I have to do that. And I want to do that. So I think I'll do that next. And then after that, I will definitely want to start something. Because as I've said, I think my sweet spot of having projects going is around 5 or 6. And right now I would say, I would describe myself as having 4 projects going. And 2 of them are full coverage, which is fine. I like them. I think I need another one. But the next one I start, my 5th project for a while, will be the whatever I choose for my small, which maybe I'll have figured that out by next week. But I did receive finally, I was finally able to order and received in the mail this chart. Emily Kalawar, 1890. And this is Hands Across the Sea sampler. I saw this on one of Nicola Parkman's videos maybe 6 weeks ago. I might have even mentioned it on a video that I wanted to stitch this because I'm attracted to it for a couple of reasons. One, because the colors are not at all typical of samplers. Now, they might be typical of 1890 samplers, but it's teal colors for the alphabet and the borders at the top, and then there's such a variety of colors below on those other bands. So I like that, the fact that it's different. And it's also not huge. It is 147 by 215, so it's just a little bit bigger than the Eliza Stringer, I think. It's somewhat bigger than that. And also, I like those alphabets. I like that sort of modern straight alphabet, and I like that more elaborate alphabet. Now, interestingly, there is something funny about that elaborate alphabet. Two things. One that is typical is that there's no either J or I. But the other, look at where it ends. There's no Y. So I think if there's no I think that letter that's there after the H is a J. But there is no Y, which is kind of surprising to me. So, I mean, I'm not going to try to chart a Y, but the other thing that this makes me think about is one of the things I talked about in my last video, which was February 10th, which is the concept of whose name am I going to put on this? Am I going to put my name? Or am I going to do it as a reproduction and do it as her name, Emily Calwar? Interestingly, my name is Emily also, but it isn't spelled that way. My name is spelled with a Y, not an I-E. So I don't know. Another reason I was interested in this was because it's one of these little booklets that people just think are the best things ever. And so I'll let you know what I think once I get stitching it. I will say that I like the fact that on every page, the thread legend appears. And it is in color, which I don't know that I like color charts, but we'll see. So maybe this will say Emily Williams 2020, let's hope, 2023, by the time I finish it. I don't know. Now, variety show. I've managed to not make the camera turn off, so I know how much time I've talked to you so far. So, a couple of things. First of all, the weekend that I last videoed was the second weekend of the World Puzzle Federation Sudoku Grand Prix. And I will tell you that I completed 4 puzzles and thought they were correct. And then when I looked at them after, the next day, I realized, oh, that is wrong. So one of them I didn't get points for, but I did get 75 points. I did it on the iPad, worked out very well. So I think I will do that again. That is next weekend is the March edition of that. This weekend, or actually this week, starting today, is the Logic Masters India champion or puzzle competition that they do over a few months at the beginning of the year, which is part of the selection of the Indian national team for the World Championships, which are in October in Toronto. And so you don't have to be Indian to do those, and they're online. You can do an online solve or you can do a paper solve. So I'm going to do the online solve, although it uses Penpa, which is a puzzle format that I am not as familiar with. It's an online. There are 3 main that I'm aware of, 3 main online solving sites. One is Penpa, which does Sudoku, and you can also do many other kinds of puzzles on it. Another is F Puzzles, which was, I believe, created by Eric Fox, who's a puzzle constructor and Sudoku constructor. And then is the Sven Sudoku pad, or the Cracking the Cryptic app, which is the one that I'm most familiar with, that I like the best. In fact, I do think there is a Penpa, a conversion from Penpa to Cracking the Cryptic. But I don't think I would do that for the Indian champion or competition, because there's something about the timekeeping and the answer page and that sort of thing that are linked into the puzzle itself. So I don't think I'll do that. I'll just do it the way it's set up to be done, but that will be fun. And then we did go to the quilt show, as I mentioned, Mid-Atlantic Quilt Festival, and I have a lot of things I could tell you about that. But I'm going to save it because Cindy and I will make another galloping horse video before the end of this month. And maybe I'll have things related to the quilt show to actually show you by that point. I'll just say a couple of things is I was successful in not buying a lot of fabric. I did buy 2.5 yards of fabric and some hardware so that Cindy can make me a little purse, which can be a waist pack also, a little waist purse, because I really like a waist. I don't carry a purse, but I like having my things with me. And so this will be a little waist, W-A-I-S-T purse. It used to be called fanny pack, which I think has fallen out of vogue. The name of it has, but the device, the item is coming back, I'm noticing, because all good things do come back. So she'll make me that. She likes to make that sort of thing, and so I bought her the means to enjoy herself again. I bought some embroidery scissors, which are Appliquick, which are very pretty. I don't collect scissors, but I have noticed that it's handy to have a pair of scissors in a project bag. I bought some zippers to make project bags because they were there and they were beautiful. By Annie's is a type of zipper that I really like. That's a good quality, heavy zipper, heavier than dressmakers zippers, which are also fine, and I have a lot of those as well, but I bought some By Annie zippers. And I bought a little thing called a Lucet, which maybe you've seen these. Now this is not, so you can see, if I get it in the right light, that it's purplish. And this is actually from a tree, a certain tree, hardwood tree, that I think is called a Purple Heart tree. So this isn't dyed or stained. This is the color of it. So I got it because I thought the wood was interesting, and also because I like having a little random handwork to do. And this is, you take yarn, and I don't seem to have an example handy, but you take yarn or thread, or, I mean not thread, but yarn or string or pearl cotton or something, and you basically, you make sort of a four-sided I-cord type thing just by hand, just by looping it around and pulling the loops over and turning it and so on. And I just thought it looks fiddly. It looks like my kind of random, mindless activity that I like to do. So this is some cheap, well, I don't know if it was cheap. My mother had this. It's cotton yarn, and she had a lot of it. And when she died, my brother packed up her sewing room, and my husband went up and got it, all the things. And one of our rules when that came into the house, or when he brought it back, is I said, nothing you brought back is coming into the house until I have verified that I want it. Because my brother just packed up everything, and not everything was going to be useful to me. So it sat in the garage. That was in the 25 years that we've lived in this house, almost 26. That 10-day period was one of about 20 days total that we did not park 2 cars in our garage, plus about 6 weeks when we stored some things for friends of ours who had their apartment flood. But anyway, on our account. So for 10 days that was in the garage. I went to go out every day and sort through some other things. And I decided at that point to keep this yarn. Since then, I've tried to knit with it. And you know, the thing about yarn is it has to have a certain amount of give to it, or it's hard to knit with because it's hard to get the needle under the yarn in order to be able to form the stitch. And so this doesn't have very much give. Now, part of that is because it's cotton yarn, and that's just how some cotton yarn tends to be, especially older cotton yarn. But also, it's because it's not that great a quality to start with. So I kind of regret keeping that. But even on my second pass about 2 or 3 years ago, I went through some sections of my sewing room storage, just thinking, now, are there things here that I thought I was going to use that I actually will never use? And I found some things, including some yarn that my mother had, and I just got rid of it, some of it. But I didn't get rid of this because I don't know why. But now I'm glad I didn't, because at least it's good practice for using this lucite thing. I'm sorry I don't have a piece of it going for you. But, you know, I've made a few little stretches of it, of this cording. I don't know. I have no idea if it even has a use, but there it is. So that was that. Now the other thing I'm going to do is, I think last time or 2 times ago, I talked about Legos, which I hadn't talked about, even though I love Legos. And so I got out a model that I actually hadn't built before. This is the Lego Grand Piano, and I'm about 1/3 of the way, maybe halfway through. Isn't that something? Let's see, this is the more. It's sort of hard to see it because it's black, but so of course I'm not done, and these are not real strings. They, you know, they don't make a sound, but the look of it is very much like it. And you can see in there that there is a gear situation. You may not be able to see the gear, but you can see the thing sticking up. And what happens is that there are pins here. These go up and down. You can sort of see that, maybe. Pick one in the middle. And there are keys that are going to be attached down here, a keyboard, 25 keys. And all of this will actually turn, that gear will turn, and all of this will move as if the keys are moving. And then there's an app that you can set up to make it be like a player piano. And of course it will have legs. It doesn't have legs yet. But it's really fun. And inside here, this door on the side opens so that you can get at the battery box, because it has a motor and it has a sensor of some sort. So it has what looks to me like a light sensor, or maybe it's a motion sensor. But I'm not sure exactly what it senses. I have to read more about that. But I certainly have enjoyed building it so far. Very sturdy, it's kind of heavy. The pack, this is around 3,500 pieces, I think. But the Lego, if you have not seen these Lego models, they are meticulous in their directions. So I want to get to a page where you can sort of see something that's interesting. I mean, it's all interesting to me, but so it shows you what pieces you need, and then it shows how to put it together, and then where it fits, and draws lines to show you where it goes and which little units you create in order to stick it in there. Excellent. Now, I have been doing complicated Lego models, as I said before, since the mid-1980s, and a lot has changed, and I will say improved, about how Lego has done their designs and how they've done their pieces over that time. But it's all fun. It is all fun. So I'm enjoying that. The next time I make a video, by next week, I probably will have this finished, unless my life gets out of control, which, you know, I have a lot of things I like to do. Many things. I love being retired. Love it. So that is enough and plenty from me. Thank you for watching. If you're still sticking with me, then especially thank you for watching. I probably will make a video next week, though my week coming up is kind of busy. So it's possible I won't, or it's possible I will do it, but not on Friday. I can't promise. Which brings me to that you might want to subscribe and hit the little notification bell so that if I don't post a video on a Friday, which maybe is what you've come to expect, but some other time, you will not miss it. You'll not suddenly wonder, did Emily post a video? Let me go look, because your YouTube will alert you. So you could do that just because it's good for you. Apparently, from the YouTube standpoint, it's good for me, but I don't really care. So do it for yourself, not for me. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Happy stitching. Many blessings to you, friends.